Welcome to the Explainer. So, what do the bubonic plague, a contraceptive pill, and a broken printer have in common? I know, it sounds like the setup to a really bizarre joke, right? But the actual answer is far more sinister. These three completely unrelated items are actually the centerpieces of three real-life, highly unusual crimes. Today, we are looking at an anthology of the bizarre, weapons of choice. We're going to explore three chilling criminal cases from the Indian subcontinent that perfectly map out how the methods of malice have evolved over the decades. I am genuinely so fascinated by these cases because they are as brilliant as they are terrifying. Here is our roadmap for today's Explainer. We'll start with the bioweapon murder, move to the cyanide serial killer, uncover the billion-dollar typo, and finally look at the evolution of crime. Let's just jump right in.
Section 1. The bioweapon murder.
Picture this, it's the 1930s in India. Two brothers from a wealthy zamindar family find themselves locked in this deadly, unimaginable inheritance battle. You have Amarendra, the younger brother, who just successfully fought a fierce legal battle to win his rightful share of the estate. On the other side, you have his older stepbrother, Vinayendra. Now, Vinayendra had previously controlled all the wealth with a really stingy hand, and he was absolutely consumed by blinding jealousy. He was determined to claim it all back, and that jealousy drove him to meticulous, absolute madness. Vinayendra's attempts to eliminate his brother escalated in a horrifying way. First, he jammed these sharp, tetanus-laced pince-nez glasses onto Amarendra's nose, pretending it was a gift. When that failed, he literally paraded corrupt doctors in to jab his brother with harmful syringes that only made him sicker. But Amarendra miraculously survived, so Vinayendra took a chilling final step. November 1933, the incredibly crowded Howrah train station in Kolkata. A vagabond purposefully bumps into Amarendra, gives him a fatal prick on his arm, and just vanishes into the sea of people. That tiny pinprick from the train station oozed this faintly yellowish liquid. Days later, Amarendra slipped into a coma and passed away. But when the doctors ran blood cultures, the results were staggering: Yersinia pestis, the bubonic plague. Vinayendra had actually spent nearly a year bribing scientists to get access to the one single plague sample kept at the Bombay Hafkin Institute. This wasn't just a simple family murder. This was a highly calculated biological attack in 1933. Vinayendra was eventually caught, of course, and sent to the infamous Kalapani Cellular Jail.
All right, moving on to Section 2, the cyanide serial killer.
We're going to shift timelines dramatically here, moving from biological warfare between feuding brothers to terrifying chemical deception. The year is 2009 in Mangaluru. Just think about the number 20 for a second. Let that sink in. This represents the horrifying scale of the crimes committed by a 57-year-old man who became known as Cyanide Mohan. 20 is the exact number of women he systematically lured and brutally murdered over his active years.
Now, how did he pull this off so many times without getting caught? His chilling modus operandi relied on the ultimate betrayal of trust when it comes to everyday medicine. He tricked his victims into voluntarily taking deadly cyanide. How? By wickedly disguising it, making them believe it was just a standard contraceptive pill. Mohan's pattern was dark, calculated, and terrifyingly repetitive. He would entice his victims, like, for example, a 25-year-old woman from Kasaragod, by promising marriage. He'd take them to a major city like Bangalore, stay in a lodge, rape them, and then, the very next morning, hand them that deadly pill. After they died, he just robbed them of their gold jewelry and destroyed absolutely all the evidence. He repeated this ruthless cycle 20 times before he was finally caught, brought before a court, and sentenced to life in prison.
Which brings us to Section 3, the billion-dollar typo.
Okay, let's jump to 2016. Physical poisons are completely out of the picture now, replaced by invisible lines of hidden code and malware. A state-run hacker collective known as the Lazarus Group targeted the Bangladesh Central Bank. Using malware hidden inside a totally fake job application email, they successfully bypassed security and accessed the bank's SWIFT terminal. Now, SWIFT is essentially the global messaging network that banks use to securely authorize massive money transfers. Once they were in, they queued up 35 payment instructions targeting the New York Federal Reserve Bank. But here is the truly ingenious part. To cover their tracks, the hackers completely erased the database audit records, and they corrupted a specific HP LaserJet printer in the Dhaka office so that it only spat out blank pages instead of the crucial transaction alerts. The execution here was a masterclass in exploiting global blind spots. The hackers brilliantly leveraged global time zones and local holidays. They sent the hacked payments on a Thursday night, literally right after the Bangladesh bank closed for its Friday-Saturday weekend. By Friday morning in New York, the transfers were processed and reached Manila in the Philippines. The Bangladesh bank finally discovered the hack on Saturday when they got the printer fixed, but by then, New York was closed for the weekend. When they desperately tried to contact Manila on Monday, it was the Chinese New Year, a massive bank holiday in the Philippines. This perfect storm ensured absolutely no one could stop those initial transfers in time. The scale of this operation was just breathtaking. Their intended theft was an astronomical $951 million. That is nearly $1 billion. Now, the hackers did manage to steal $81 million, which promptly vanished into casinos in Manila, but a massive chunk of that near billion-dollar plot was actually stopped dead in its tracks.
So, what foiled the rest of this perfect, near billion-dollar digital heist? An absurd human error. A single spelling mistake. The hackers tried to route a $20 million transfer to a Sri Lankan charity called the Shalika Foundation, but they misspelled the word foundation as F-U-N-D-A-T-I-O-N. That tiny, simple typo immediately flagged the transaction at a routing bank in Germany, raised suspicion, and ultimately stopped the remaining hundreds of millions of dollars from being sent. It literally was $1 billion typo.
And finally, Section 4, the evolution of crime. When we step back and look at these three completely different stories together, a profound pattern emerges. We've gone from a 1930s biological attack using plague bacteria to a 2000s serial killer using cyanide disguised as everyday medicine, to a 2016 cyber heist exploiting the very digital banking systems we rely on daily. The weapons evolved entirely, but those timelessly dark motives, jealousy, greed, malice, they remained completely constant across the decades. So, I want to leave you with this thought. While weapons change from microscopic bacteria to complex lines of code, are we ever truly safe from the darkness of human motive? Does our incredibly advanced technology actually protect us, or does it just hand criminals powerful, invisible new tools of choice? It's definitely something to think about. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. I really hope you found these cases as gripping and eye-opening as I did.